Modular versus interactive models. These both components are related to parsing. Modular is parsing which is performed initially by a syntactic module that is not influenced by higher order contextual variable such as the meaning of sentence or by general knowledge. Now, in this modular process, we see that the outputs of one processing step can move on to the next level, and when it happens, it does not require any feedback, or it does not have a mechanism of having any feedback from the previous level for any adjustment or correction. This is also referred to as feed forward. Next is interactive. Now, in this model, we simultaneously use all available information in our initial parsing of a sentence: syntactic, lexical, discourse, as well as non-linguistic contextual information. So in the interactive model, as the name suggests, we have all information available and they are processed at the same time in parallel. Lexical access, syntactic structure, or semantic processing, all these, or the informations related to all these structures, are processed at the same time in parallel. Modular, you can see that it is stepwise, and the outcome or the result of one processing step is just passed on to the next level, and no feedback or any guidance is required from the previous step, which can contribute in assessing or determining the results of that. But in the interactive model, we can see that all form of information is being processed simultaneously in parallel. Now we will discuss some of the examples. These examples have been given by a number of researchers out of their studies that they have conducted in the areas of modular and interactive parsing, and they have tried to explain different phenomena with regard to parsing, which is modular or interactive, and how these strategies can affect in terms of their speech, in terms of their syntactic analysis. Now, coming to the first example, which is the florist sent the flower, was very pleased. Now, this type of statement can be seen as a garden path sentence. And if you remember, we have already discussed that garden path is a sentence which is temporarily ambiguous or confusing, which consists of words or group of words which though appear to be compatible with more than one structural analysis and seems logical, but sometimes it confuses the reader by luring it to coming up with the incorrect understanding of a meaning, and later on when he or she reaches the end of the sentence, then the meaning becomes clear. The next you can see is the florist who was sent the flowers was very pleased. The ambiguity occurs when English permits the reduction or deletion of relative class such as who was. Ambiguity can arise out of the reduction or deletion of the relative class such as who was. Then in sentence 14, the performer sent the flowers were very pleased. Now, as per the studies of Brenner, Carlson, and Fraser, the interpretation, according to them, that the performer received the flowers is considerably more plausible. The performer sent the flower was very pleased and Renner and colleagues measured eye fixation on segments of these sentences. Eye fixation. On these sentences and found that initial analysis of the sentence were unrelated to the plausibility variable, where you can see that the garden path effects were found with both plausible and implausible sentences. Then you have other study done by Truswell and his colleagues in 1994, and they examined eye fixation to sentences such as 19 and 20. Now this 19, the defendant examined by the lawyer, turned out to be unreliable, and the 20, the evidence examined by the lawyer, turned out to be unreliable. Now, although these two sentences are structurally similar, the eye fixation were much greater when the subject was animate. This one. Truswell and his colleagues suggest that comprehenders immediately utilize their lexical knowledge to determine the main verb or minimal attachment interpretation of this. It's not possible, in other words, evidence does not examine, it is examined by someone. It does not examine, rather it is examined by someone. Now, in contrast, 19 permits the incorrect main verb interpretation and thus leads to garden path effect. Now, this research suggests that comprehenders immediately use lexical knowledge to guide parsing. Hence, the interactive approach emphasizes that we use all available information, including lexical, discourse, and contextual factor, whereas the modular approach insists that syntactically based strategies are used first, with lexical and discourse factor coming in the last.